Raise your hand if this has ever happened to you. You sit down on the first day of the month, you clear out a spreadsheet or open up a brand new notebook, and you make the perfect budget. You calculate exactly what you're going to spend on groceries, gas, and fun. You feel like a financial superhero. And then real life happens. Your car starts making a weird clicking noise. Your dog ate something it shouldn't have, or your kid needs a $75 fee for school. Suddenly, your perfect budget is blown to pieces and you throw the whole thing in the trash. If that cycle sounds familiar, I have a massive truth bomb for you. Your budget didn't fail because you lacked discipline. It failed because it was built for a fantasy world, not real life. Today, we're changing that. I'm giving you a framework to build a bulletproof budget. So when we were drowning in $159,000 of personal debt, I used to build what I would call fantasy budgets. We were gonna not go out for coffee at all that month, and we were going to save every extra penny that we have. And then every single time, real life would happen. And because my budget wasn't built for the real world, it never worked. Because let's be honest, when's the last time you had a perfect month? When's the last time you didn't have a surprise birthday party invitation for a kid come up, or your car didn't have problems, or a subscription you weren't tracking renewed? It doesn't happen. Traditional budgeting treats your life like a corporate balance sheet, but that's not what your life is. Your life is dynamic and it needs to be flexible with that. If your budget is so rigid that a $50 curveball throws it away, that's not a financial tool, that's a trap. So to build a budget that is actually bulletproof, we have to stop planning for a fantasy life and start planning for reality. Step number 1 to building your bulletproof budget is building a real life baseline. Most people will start budgeting by guessing what they're going to spend. Okay, I guess I'll spend $400 on groceries this month. But if you've actually been spending $800 a month, all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure. So before you write down a single target for your month, I want you to go into your bank app. I want you to look at the last 3 months of transactions, print them out, take a highlighter, and look at the ugly truth. What are you spending on groceries, on streaming, on dining out, on coffee, on clothing? Look at what you're actually spending your money on. Your new budget must start with your actual real life baselines of where you're at now. We cannot optimize a problem until we're honest about the numbers. If you are spending $800 a month on groceries, then that's where we'll start. And hopefully we'll be able to trim that down in future steps. But to start, you have to start at the honest truth. Step number 2 is actually the secret sauce of the budget blueprint. It's your buffer zone. So when people budget, they usually budget for things like rent and utilities and groceries and maybe dining out. And then they'll take the rest and they'll allocate it towards debt payoff, which is great. But then they've left zero in their bank account as a buffer. So when a minor expense comes up, or maybe your electricity bill was higher than you anticipated, they then have to take money from either their savings or swipe a credit card. And that is what we want to completely avoid. So we need to put in a buffer zone. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can take a line item and actually name it your buffer zone, and you can fund that with $50 to $100 every month. And that's one way, and it works fine. My concern with it is that it's going to give you permission to buy something or splurge on something later because you have that money in your buffer zone. So what I personally do is I take my clothing line and my video game for kids line. I buffer those. So my target for each of those is $50 for the video game line and $100 for the clothing. Now, here's where the secret is. I don't spend $50 a month on video games for my kids, and I very rarely spend $100 a month on clothing. But say I did. Say I went shopping that month and I dropped $100. Great, fine, it's planned for. I'm allowed to do that. But let's say I go over on groceries by $40. Then what I do is I go to my video game line or my clothing line and I say, how are those? And they always seem to have money because, again, I don't spend $100 a month or $50 a month on those items. So then I can pull my money from there. And the thing I like about this option better is that there is a goal. I'm not just sitting here thinking, oh, I really want to buy this, plant from Target, and I have money in my buffer zone. I'm thinking, oh, I really want to buy this plant from Target. I don't have miscellaneous from Target on my budget, so I'm going to have to choose, do I want to spend money from my clothing line to buy this plant? And now you're making a choice because that line does actually have a goal. It just also has buffer for the emergencies. But listen, either option, whichever way you want to do it, having a buffer zone is crucial to finding a budget to be successful. Okay, step number 3, your budget's timeline. So listen, it's not a crock pot. You don't get to set it on the first day of the month and then come back to it on the 30th. You will find that you failed. You need to be checking in on this. Now, I recommend a minimum of once a week. Personally, myself, I check in on my budget 5 to 7 times a week. I usually try to do it daily. I want to see where I'm at. I want to make sure all the transactions that are coming through on my cards are legitimate charges of mine. But if that's too much for you, you need to be doing it at least once a week. So let's say it's Sunday. It's the first time you're checking in on your budget. You open it up and you realize you've spent 80% of your dining out in the first 7 days. Now you need to adjust. You've mentally tell yourself, okay, we've had fun. Now we have to pay that price for the next few weeks until the budget resets next month. But you need to remember, moving money mid-month, it's not cheating, it's budgeting. It's having a dynamic budget that fits your life. Look, at the end of the day, budgeting shouldn't feel like a straitjacket meant to punish you. It should feel like you live within a system that has a plan for your life and also plans for when life gets a little messy. If you're tired of fighting your spreadsheet every month and you want a system that's going to actually help you learn how to live within a budget, download my budget blueprint in the link below. This is the exact system that I used to help get rid of $115,000 of debt. Stop trying to live a perfect financial life and start preparing for a realistic one. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss our next framework video. Also, tell me in the comments, what's one area of your budget that always seems to blow up your life? Budget better, live freely, and I'll see you next week.